Thanks, Chris. That's fantastic. Next up, and we did do the intro, is going to be Cheryl. Cheryl's going to basically be, one of the things we also want to say here at NPI is we're talking to several different levels of people. There are people who don't really know what social networking is, never been on it really. They've kind of heard it vaguely, or this Facebook thing, or this MySpace thing. And others, in fact, some of the people here are very, very sophisticated in it. So we also often think about two audiences. I don't know, I think you're going to address a little bit of that, as well as some other ideas. And here's the, oops, that, this one. Yeah, that's it.
Fantastic.
But I think, can you sit back this way, actually?
Oh,
I just was bringing you that.
Sure.
Yeah. Right here is good.
That's good. All right. Well, thanks, everyone, for coming out. And thank you to the New Politics Institute and to Pete Leiden for inviting me to come all the way out here from San Francisco back to my native town, D.C. So, social networking. How many of you came here because you received an email? Okay, a lot of you. How many people came here because you saw this on Facebook and saw that your friends were coming? Right. Wow. So that's social networking right there. Okay.
Oop.
This,
It's not done.
oh, do I need to get closer?
Oh,
There we
yeah,
go.
there, just that
Okay.
other one. But take your finger off it once you're done.
Great. So what I'm going to talk about very briefly is social networking. What is it? I know this is a very sophisticated crowd, but still, let's take a step back and talk about that. Where is it going? And then what should you do about it? I mean, just at a bottom line level, what do you want to walk away with from today and take back to the office and to your organization?
Is it not?
There you go.
Oh, there it is.
Okay, so what is a social network? Social network, defined in the Wikipedia, is a social structure comprised of individuals and/or organizations that are linked together by some kind of interdependency. That can be kinship, it can be shared interests, it can be conflict, it can be trade. And so what we're seeing now, as Chris just talked about, is not something new. Social network is a buzzword right now being tossed around to discuss a paradigm shift in technology and communications. However, social networks are as old as smoke signals, and people using smoke signals to talk to the village next door and communicate some news. So for those of you who are still like, what is a social network? Some of you may remember this story that was in the New York Times a few months ago about obesity and how obesity can actually be contagious. And they actually use social network analysis to determine that if you know 2 to 3 other fat people, that means that you're likely to be also fat. Okay? So that's social network, is that these ideas within your network, how you're living your life, what you're talking about, it might be food a lot of the time, is, those ideas spread. Wow, did you go to In-N-Out Burger? They have a great hamburger. In-N-Out. Or Five Guys, for those of you here in DC, Five Guys. They've got some pretty good burgers. Is that better? Okay. So what we're seeing, in terms of, how is this evolving? How is our human communications evolving using these new tools? We've gone beyond smoke signals, and we're actually going beyond the informational Web 1.0 websites that were just about, allowing people to access more information, in their own time, providing more information. Now we're in Web 2.0, where each person is an information provider and a nucleus among their network, and your value, your power is defined by the type of information that you personally can provide. And so that's where you see the Wikipedia, that's where you see YouTube, Facebook, and then now we're also starting to move into Web 3.0, where you see virtual worlds where people are defining their communities in whole new ways. Mobile, the semantic web. And what's important to take note here is that we're moving from accessing information to co-creating information together. There we go. Okay, so free hugs. Free hugs, that sounds good. How many of you have heard about this free hugs campaign? A few of you, okay, not bad. free hugs, this is actually one of the top 20 videos in YouTube. And people tend to think about YouTube as a distribution mechanism, that you go to YouTube to find videos. But what's important about Free Hugs campaign, we've been analyzing this campaign for one of my clients, which is Shinyuan Foundation out of Japan. They are a nonprofit that's devoted to promoting peace, is that with no money and yet using the social networking power of YouTube, you see there in the red circle, I know it's small, but there are 20 million views so far of this video, and that was driven by the fact that it was favorited about 100,000 times by people. There are 40,000 comments. It's been rated 70,000 times. So it's people, what drove the views was not necessarily a TV show or the New York Times. It was people talking to other people. But it goes beyond YouTube. What's interesting about this campaign is that, just using a few simple tools and not a lot of money, this, the creator of this campaign, Juan Man out of Australia, has had an international impact. You see up here, in the Flickr sphere, if you search on Free Hugs, the same campaign comes up with 9,000 photos of people worldwide in places like Peru and Amsterdam, Korea. You go to MySpace and you see Free Hugs campaign. You go to the freehugscampaign.org website and you see the forum that Juan Man has set up to encourage people to talk. There are thousands of comments here. All the comments are all about how to promote peace and free hugs worldwide. But email hasn't gone away. It's not that transmission is narrowing to any particular source or that any source is going away. Instead, what we're seeing is a multiplicity of channels. So another way this got promoted was on Dig, and this Free Hugs campaign, rose straight up. How many of you visit Dig regularly? A lot of people. Okay, so I'm not going to go into much detail about Dig, since you all know about it.
No, can you explain it? Just because
Sure.
there are people that don't know Dig.
Sure, so here's what Dig is. Dig is a way of ranking news stories, press releases, blog posts, and essentially what's happening here is a co-creation of a newspaper. Instead of going to the Washington Post and looking at what the Washington Post editors have determined are the most important stories of the day, instead, through organic ranking and individuals coming together through social networking, what you find are a co-created priority of news stories. And what we have found in working with our clients is that if you can get enough people to dig your story such that it appears on one of these home pages that Dig has, you're going to get 5 times as many people reading that story. And so Dig can be very powerful, and I'm going to show you a couple of examples of how other folks are using Dig. So why should you care? Well, journalists care quite a lot about social networking, and there was a recent study that came out that says 100% of journalists say that they're using the internet, and many of them are saying that blogs make their lives easier. They make their jobs easier. And you'll see here at the bottom, 70% of journalists are saying that they read blogs, and 67% are watching webinars and webcasts, right? So that's something to keep in mind as you're creating your campaigns. 92% of these journalists are saying, look, we're placing a priority right now on our online as opposed to our print. And most of those journalists are actually writing for both the print and the online. So, if you're thinking about, we have to have a separate online strategy from our offline strategy, your target audiences are not necessarily thinking in those terms. Instead, they are consuming media across many different platforms. And then here you see that the most important information that you can have are search, this is very powerful, and your press room. So in looking at the media and how they are driving this new social media and social communications, what you find is that the old gray lady has a new iPod. The New York Times is not just broadcasting in print. They have blogs and live blogs. They have podcasts. They are mobile. They have newsletters. And what you see, again, are this overlapping of multiple channels. On their blogs page, you can actually also sign up for the email. On every page of the New York Times website, they are tracking and telling you, look, this is how many people have emailed this story. This is how many people are blogging. These are the most popularly blogged stories. These are the most popularly searched stories on our website or in this section. So they're paying very close attention to what users are doing. Then on every page of the New York Times, you see they are allowing people to share their stories with their social networks. Okay, so that's what we're focusing on, is helping our clients to take advantage of this phenomenon where you have tools that make it easy to dig. And it's very easy to add these tools to your website. It doesn't cost a lot of money. So one of our clients is actually AT&T. We run their press room. And what you see here, I know it's very faint, but what you can see here is a common press release that we might do for them. This is links that are keyword optimized. What you see are Wikipedia links. You see here that it's easy to share this story on Dig and Delicious. You can pick it up in Technorati, and you can pick up the press room very easily if you're accessing it on your mobile phone. So, and these are all tools. You know, the assumption is that any given journalist or any given consumer will be wanting to use one, two, or more of these tools. Just a very quick word on the larger picture, the big picture here, what's happening. What we're seeing is an enormous growth, and resistance essentially is futile. As you can see, Facebook, is experiencing, in the past year, enormous growth. We're also paying close attention to Tagged, which is a relatively new social network and is experiencing explosive growth. There are 30 million users right now. Also, it's important to remember to be culturally relevant. For some of you who are working in the international arena beyond American politics, we pay a lot of attention here to MySpace and Facebook because that's what's changing our culture. That's what's dominant for us. If you look, though, at in Asia, you've got 88% of people in Friendster. In Latin America, you've got Bebo, and in Europe, in Latin America, you've got Orkut, and in Europe, you've got Bebo. Cyworld. How many of you have heard about Cyworld? A few people, a handful of people. Well, let me tell you something. Cyworld has more videos than YouTube, and it has it is second only to iTunes in the number of songs sold. It is a social networking platform out of South Korea. 1 out of every 4 South Koreans is in Cyworld, and we're predicting that you'll hear more about Cyworld in the future. So just to start to sum up, where is all this going? Well, as you can see, it's about seamless communications across platforms and device. And think about your own life. Think about your own behavior. Maybe on the way to work, you read the newspaper, the physical newspaper, right? But then walking to work, you might check through and scroll through your BlackBerry or your RSS feeds. Maybe you check your Facebook status. Maybe you're Twittering. Maybe once you sit down at your desk, you actually get on email and you send a story that you saw on the way to work. You look it up on the New York Times, or maybe you put it into Facebook. And we're also seeing increased speed of information. Our CEO, Dave Sine, is a great guy, very down to earth, very smart. He tells a story about how a couple of teenage boys broke into his garage trying to look for some beer. Okay, and he and his daughter, his teenage daughter, about the same age, came down, and scared them off. By the time he had made 1 phone call and a half, okay, to his network, his social network, his teenage daughter, using her mobile phone, had already not only found out who the kids were, but had received an apology from one of them. Okay, so I think that I really think that is what we're seeing is it's not that people aren't talking, it's that they're able to talk now, as Chris mentioned, much more quickly. And then I think that the point that this is very natural and ubiquitous, that this is a phenomenon that's much like the telegraph or email. is important to keep in mind. So yes, there's a new way now. There are new tools that you can use to fight breast cancer or move your mission forward. So what should you do about it? What can you do about it? Well, first off, Google yourself. Many of you probably already do that on a daily basis, right? You know who you are. But then Technorati yourself. Technorati is the Google of the blogs. And then look in YouTube, Facebook, Flickr, Dig. Chances are your organization or your campaign is already there. People are already talking about you. Today, once you leave here, if you're not already incorporating some of these tools into your press room and allowing people to share your stories, if you're not incorporating webcasts or video, go ahead and start doing that, because you know what? The very people you're trying to reach, including bloggers and journalists, are searching your website for that very information. Are they coming away disappointed? Look at what the mainstream media is doing. They are actually leading consumer adoption of Web 2.0, and they are very fluent in these tools. And then, find your supporters online. That's where they are. 90% of Americans of college-educated Americans are online, and something like between 70 and 75% of Americans are online. That's where the people are. You want to talk to them. You want to listen to them. They are looking for leadership from you, but in this new era, you can also follow them. They have creativity, they have input, they have energy to bring to your campaign and ideas that can take the organization forward if you're willing to let them lead. So thank you very much, everyone. Appreciate it.